How's it going, everyone? This is Gaurav Bhatt, and you're listening to Express Sports Podcast. This is Game Time, your weekly show for significant, non-significant things that we want to talk about. Unfortunately, your regular anchor, resident Amitabh Bachchan, Daksh Panwar, is missing in action. So
I just thought the way you began, I just thought कि कहाँ जा रहा है ये unfortunate news.
No, but it might be unfortunate for our regular listeners. यार उसका base लोग काफी miss करते हैं actually. The feedback that we get.
And unfortunately, none of us have that depth in our voice.
हाँ. Even if we try, वो 5 मिनट से ज़्यादा होगा नहीं without ruining our vocal cords. I'm joined by Mihir Vasavda, of course. काफी सारा rumors फैल रहा था मिहिर.
I'm back. Last week जो allegations लगे थे, I'm back to prove that they're all wrong.
तूने तो कुछ नहीं किया दक्ष को बाहर कहीं रख के मतलब
I can't say.
You can neither confirm nor deny.
Neither confirm nor deny. Yeah.
So anyway, we'll be talking about the India-Bangladesh T20 series that happened. India won 2-1. We'll also take a look at the India-Bangladesh test series that is going to happen. And we'll also take stock of the Indian shooters and their qualifying in a bunch. बहुत सारे लोग Olympics जा रहे हैं, but उसके बाद क्या होगा? We have Mihir for that. But we'll start with the never-ending soap opera that is Indian tennis. Mihir Vasavda.
I just thought, I was hoping that we'll leave that till the last.
We'll the main event first. We'll start with a bang. तो हुआ ये यार कि अपना इंडिया पाकिस्तान डेविस कप टाई होना था. This was supposed to take place in Pakistan, but for obvious reasons there was a lot of resistance. Our regular players, our top ranked players, they didn't want to go there. Mahesh Bhupati, our non-playing captain, didn't want to go there, and they asked ITA if there was a possibility to shift the venue. आईटा के ऑब्वियसली बस में नहीं था ये चीज़ की डिसाइड करना. दे लेफ्ट इट टू आईटीएफ, बट आईटीएफ ने डिसाइड फाइनली रूलिंग ये हुआ कि द मैच विल बी मूव टू अ न्यूट्रल वेन्यू. एंड नाउ आई थिंक जब लग रहा था कि अभी सब कुछ ठीक है, न्यूट्रल वेन्यू में इंडिया वर्सेस पाकिस्तान ठीक है, पाकिस्तान प्लेयर्स, आई थिंक आइसमुल हक कुरैशी was very miffed. He thought it was very, it was a very bad thing for Pakistan tennis to happen because of course they've hosted so many good sports teams in the last few months. So I think India visiting would have been good, but ISM was pretty miffed, and now as it stands, ITF has approved the appeal. I think they are looking at the appeal that Pakistan has lodged. और अभी फिर से मामला फंस गया यार, ये कहीं पे भी हो सकता है. तो मिहिर बता यार.
I have three basic, very weird scenarios that have come out of this. The first obviously is from the ITF's end. When earlier they were all dilly-dallying, they said that Pakistan looks like a decent place to go and play. What has changed since then? And now that they are suddenly saying that it's unsafe. Technically on ground, there are no reports of any untoward incidents in Islamabad. And in a way, the argument by the Pakistan Tennis Federation and Asamul Qureshi have some merit. They've had international teams going and playing there. So it isn't that they are complete pariah when it comes to international sport. That is one thing which they haven't answered yet. ITF, very clearly, they haven't said that what has changed in the last few months. The most baffling thing for me in this whole thing is All India Tennis Association's reaction.
But is it baffling though?
No, but this time they have taken to another level, right? I'm not talking just about selections. It's almost like, I don't know what message are they trying to give out here. But if your A team says that we feel unsafe of going to Pakistan, they're exempt, and then you're sending a B team. तो आप मतलब it's safe for them, or their lives are not important enough. I don't know what message are they trying to say there. And you're not sending Mahesh Bhupati as a captain, but you're sending someone else as the captain. Yeah. It doesn't make sense at all. And now, again, it's almost like we are preparing for the Olympics, not on court, but in the form of all these controversies, because these are the controversies that generally take place during an Olympics. And crazily, when we spoke to Sania Mirza very recently, she said that she was looking forward to one last peaceful appearance at the games. And unfortunately, Sania, if you're listening, I don't think that's happening for you.
I don't know. It has turned into a tennis match of sorts. Jaisa you mentioned कि ITF has been, dilly-dallying so much. Firstly, it's safe. And, they were like, कि आपको भेजना पड़ेगा अपना players. Then it was unsafe. Then, okay, we'll shift it to neutral venue. Yeah. Now they're again reviewing the appeal. So ITF की तरफ से भी काफी mixed signals आए. ITA, I don't think anybody would be surprised by how mismanaged the federation actually is. And I think the fact that खाली Davis Cup के time पे या pre-Olympic years पे, we set our sights on the federation, it's very shady at the sense that ये keep non-playing captain का, and also the sort of I don't know if I should say this, but the sort of reportage that we had where people are, trying to break stories on Twitter, but eventually वो story भी मतलब fact check नहीं हो रहा है उस हिसाब से. And then ITA also, they switched their stance so quickly कि उसमें तो you can't blame the reporters.
And the kind of language they use for players, right? I mean, whatever it is, it's just the way they've handled the whole scenario. Again, it's not surprising for those who have followed these kind of debates over the last 10 years, but it surprises me every time. How can't they learn from the past? And you mentioned about ITF. They were the ones who actually suspended and took action against Hong Kong when they skipped the Davis Cup in Pakistan. So in a way, like ITA is showing that they have lobbied well. They have enough power to kind of change ITF's mind, but they don't have enough powers to control their own players. So it's just a very strange scenario there.
Of course, unsurprisingly, I think Rohan Bopanna also jumped into action. Mahesh Bhuti, of course, is pretty, he's pretty irritated, but Rohan Bopanna also. And we have to realize that we are a little jaded here. We both have covered, I think we've covered the same Davis Cup tie where तू ये allege करता कि मैंने तेरे को हाई नहीं बोला था वापस मुड़ के or something like that happened. But I don't know, we've seen this happen for so many Davis Cup ties that it gets a little, it's not a good feeling to have here where you think here we go again.
And the irony of it is that Davis Cup is the only team event in an otherwise individual sport. And you're spoiling the whole experience. You have screwed over generations of tennis players for India. I mean, the youngsters, what will they get from all these things? I mean, you talk to a few players off the record, they'll say that, the atmosphere in the changing room during Davis Cups is so bad. It just kills the entire fun of it.
The good thing about this podcast is that, we can plug in our pages and the stories that we do. I think Shahid Judge did this. I called him Shahid Judge once on the podcast and Daksh was very angry with me. He doesn't like being called Judge. So Shahid Judge, of course, wrote that story.
The judge who is also a journalist.
And jury and executioner, yeah. But he talked to Saket and when you're saying off the record, Saket went on the record saying how it's very bad for, the upcoming players to be in this sort of environment where they have to take sides. Abhi to chal itna nahi hai, but even like say 3-4 years back, you just walk into a Davis Cup locker room and immediately you have to think, oh shit, am I team Bhupati or team Pace? Or am I team Bopanna or team Pace?
It's sad.
Yeah, exactly. And the good thing is we had a photo accompanying Saket, I think from his best performance at Davis Cup, where he was, in Chandigarh facing against South Korea, and he was limping. The other guy was also limping, and this guy, he loses fluids at an ungodly rate. Man, Saket has this problem with cramps and all, but he prevailed in that match. And you had, Bopanna was there, Leander Pace was there, and it was such a stunning, that moment that where we thought that, theek hai, chalo, maybe it's turning around. But, 3-4 months later, Spain, led by Rafa, Nadal, they came visiting and Bopanna was like, theek hai, I'm out, I'm injured.
And it was it left such a sour taste, that whole thing.
And Pace had to pair up with Saket Mainini now randomly, and they made a match of it, but they lost. And then Bopanna was fit for the next side, then he was dropped, and Bopanna was like, ab mere ko drop kyun kar rahe ho? It's such grimy stuff, man. Like, you have to just Google Davis Cup India controversies and you'll get like a lot of results.
You'll get more results for that than results on court.
True. But on a very selfish side, I think Davis Cup in itself, the tournament is losing its sheen a little, because the format revamp hua hai aisa. People like Federer and all, they're more focused on the Laver Cups and, the glorified exhibition matches that we have. So in a very sinister way, I think it's good that these guys keep, Davis Cup relevant.
No, but at least, at least these guys win a match or two at Davis Cup. Important matches.
True, that is.
Might be harsh, but again, that's how it is.
Yeah, so a lot of grimy stuff happening on the tennis court. I think let's see how it goes. What is the latest news that we have from the ITF side? I think there'll be
18th is the so when they'll decide the appeal, the Pakistan appeal.
True,
I guess, right?
That if it happens in Pakistan or if it goes to a neutral venue, and then we'll decide our team accordingly for a tie that takes place on the 28th, I think.
Yeah.
So you will have like
29th.
So you will have like 9-10 days. Just my Leander Pace has made himself available, the evergreen, the Dev Anand of Indian tennis. Leander Pace with his record-breaking double wins. He has made himself available. I think Bopanna is miffed. So वो भी एक scene हो जाएगा यार कि if it's in Pakistan, then you have, quote unquote, the B-listers who'll travel.
Yeah.
But if it's in neutral venue, then you have the A-listers who wanted to play, who didn't want to go to Pakistan, and then you have the B-listers who wanted to play regardless. और फिर दोबारा वहाँ से controversy निकलेगा, which is...
It's just crazy. It's plain crazy. And what it does, it kind of opens a can of worms ahead of the Olympics. it's just a precursor to a very solid saga once again.
And this is a Pringle side can of worms यार, इसमें मतलब इतना निकलेगा कि बहुत difficult है आगे देखना क्या होता है. But
yeah, I think we should move on to better things.
हाँ, I know. I've been saying that for 15 years, man. Indian tennis के context में. Please move on to better things. Yuki कहाँ है? But, speaking of slightly better things, I think I use slightly because India defeated Bangladesh in a 3-match T20 series 2-1. But you generally think of Bangladesh and you think कि 3-0 तो मतलब कहीं नहीं गया ये. So that was a little concerning. I think Delhi में smoke की वजह से, I don't know, I'm just conspiracy theorizing, but
again, given the circumstances they came to India and I mean the controversies with Shakib and whatever was happening.
Yeah.
Quite
they
crazy.
Drew first blood, man. They won the match in India, in Delhi, and also the two matches that followed. I think Bangladesh, there were patches, there were sessions in the game, sessions as sessions could be in T20, which is 3 balls is a session. But I think there were sessions in the game where Bangladesh was sort of not dominating per se, but they were competing. They were in with a chance.
They made a match out of it. But do you think they can sustain such a thing in test matches?
Test, I don't think so, man, because you'll have your A-listers again to refer to a previous segment.
Didn't Rohit say something on those lines? I remember reading something where he said that, I mean, in test matches we play our best teams and it's going to be a different ball game altogether. But I mean, even though it looks one-sided, there are plenty of subplots in Indore. There's this whole debate around smaller centers.
Yeah,
then we move to Eden, and then there's first day night test match in India. So there's, I mean, regardless, even if it's Bangladesh, no disrespect meant, but there's something to look forward to there.
There's a lot of heavy foreshadowing going on your part. We'll talk about those things, but पहले T20 का थोड़ा बात कर ले यार. Still, I think according to me, I think our best episode that we had was when we had Devin on for the Rohit Sharma discussion, and I think he brought up this very exciting point, very exciting for me at least, कि Rohit is a very good captain. He hasn't captained, ऐसा नहीं है कि रणजी में उसने he's captained extensively, he's not captained a lot of sides, he hasn't led them, but I think ये 3 matches में he had a sort of weaker side, as weak as an Indian side can get, with your Mohammad Khalils and your Shivam Dubes and people like that. Even Manish Pandey was back, and he is good at marshalling his troops, man. So I think Devin hit the nail at its head when he said he knows how to maximize his resources.
Yeah, but yaar, pata hai, matlab, okay, we can make a serious discussion out of this, but come on. A, it's T20.
B, it's Devin.
And C, it's Bangladesh. Again, no disrespect meant, but again, it's Bangladesh, T20, and well.
मतलब तू मेरा हर पॉइंट काट ही रहा है यार आज मैं यहाँ पे ट्राई कर रहा हूँ कि नो बांग्लादेश dominating in patches. हाँ, but it's Bangladesh.
But my answer to everything is हाँ, but it's Bangladesh.
Yeah,
so
that is true. You have that rider attached. But नहीं, मेरा पॉइंट जैसा ये है कि कल, and again, like it's my habit, I show up to the podcast rehashing our own writer stories. So I think Vishal Menon का मैंने एक story अभी पढ़ा था, beloved Vishal Menon, a great cricket writer. Basically, he wrote how I think Shivam Dube was being very expensive in his first 2 overs. I think कुछ तो ऐसा 22-23 रन दे दिया था उसने, and then Rohit Sharma took him out of the attack, and then he brought him out at a very fascinating point where again, जैसा मोहम्मद खलील के साथ जिन लोगों ने मैच देखा होगा दिल्ली में जो हुआ था, I think 4-5 चौके लगातार मार दिए थे मुशफिकुर रहीम ने. शिवम दुबे could have suffered the same fate, but I think he came back well. काफी अच्छा slower deliveries था, तो I think that's the point that I want to focus on.
But do you think then Rohit should be made the captain in shorter formats?
Yeah, I'm not going to fall into this trap. I'm not saying anything. But heck, who cares, man? I don't cover cricket. I think this was supposed to be like an experiment of sorts where you have a T20 captain. But I think we need different ODI and test captains because, and again, this is just my perspective. I'm a cricket fan, but I don't know everything extensively. But from what I can gauge, I think what burned MS Dhoni so bad was that he was in that intensive period where he was building this entire India team, and he was also taking care of the Chennai Super Kings side of IPL, which is a big assignment in itself. As you can see in the documentaries posted by Mumbai Indians. I think they do those documentaries, which I only watch because उसमें अंबानी का घर दिखता है, Antilla. So they show the interiors of, yes, we can say that it's not sponsored by Reliance, but yeah, but no, it's beautiful how it shows this, behind the scenes picture of how an IPL outfit is run.
Do they show their big theater inside?
They show that big theater, man. पूरा ऐसा gold plated seats हैं, कुछ तो ऐसा gold plated popcorn आता है, कुछ तो
gold plated popcorn caramel होगा वो.
I was making this entire thing up. I haven't seen it, but I know that they show interiors of Antilla, which is exciting. Man, तेरे घर का.
I mean, given that that's a takeaway from the entire series, then I'm sure it's exciting. Sorry, but it's almost like watching the entire Sunderland series on Netflix and says कि वो CEO की office बहुत अच्छी थी.
I shouldn't have brought this up at all. But from what I've heard, it's a very good documentary. You guys should watch it after you watch Drive to Survive and the countless documentaries that we've mentioned.
And after you listen to this podcast.
Exactly. If you even watching these documentaries, then give us feedback. यार मतलब ऐसा लगता है we're shouting into ether कि हम बोल रहे हैं और हमें जो चीज़ें पता हम वही बोल रहे हैं. But we have our regular listeners. But I digress. So like I was saying, Dhoni, I think he burned out so quickly because he was taking care of the most successful IPL team there is, I think Chennai Super Kings. Mumbai has more titles, but I think Dhoni and CSK had their own legacy. It had shady elements to it as well. But udhar mein, then you had your T20 captaincy, then you have Test captaincy where you're going abroad and you're getting thrashed. Then ODIs mein, so I think wo bahut sara cheezein hain. So I think it's good to share the load.
I guess so, and I think that's the only way where you can sustain, say, someone like Kohli for another cycle, a World Cup cycle or something like that, at this rate, at this form.
So moving on to the test matches and the sort of narratives and the storylines that you were discussing. Firstly, Indore, and you said smaller centers, something about smaller centers. What's your point?
Virat had said recently that test matches should be played at fixed centers. You make 5 something fixed centers and you just rotate there. And there is another narrative to it where you're saying, you spread the game, take it to smaller centers where a lot of people are interested. They come and watch the match. Where do you stand on that debate? I mean, we are hearing that there are lots of tickets being sold, season tickets being sold at Indore. We don't know yet. We are talking on match day -2. It's a Tuesday as we record. We don't know how many people will eventually turn up for the matches. But from what we are hearing so far, the response is good for a Bangladesh match.
God, you with your remember it's Bangladesh, guys. Disclaimers, but you want my opinion on
whether there should be 5 fixed centers for test matches. If only someone in the press conference had done that to Virat.
Yeah, I am actually torn here, but you should have like fixed centers for anything. I think, again, you might verbally slap me on my face saying how, hockey is doing a good thing by having Bhubaneswar.
No, they're not.
Exactly.
They're not.
So can we correlate this entire argument to...
No, but it's a totally different argument, right? In hockey, what they're doing is they're restricting it to only one center. And in cricket, this year, India will be playing 5 test matches at home. So they're not playing all 5 test matches only in Mumbai or only in Bangalore. You have, say, 5 fixed centers. So at least annually, there's something to look forward to. You can design so many things around a test series, home test series. There are lots of things you can try. I went to watch the India-England test match in Dharamshala, and it just blew my mind that why isn't it an annual fixture? There are so many things you can work around it.
But do you think Dharamshala makes the cut if we have 5?
It should. You can. If say for example I was BCCI, I would just design travel packages along with it. There is so much you can do in terms of mixing tourism and sport. For example, in Dharamshala, I had just gone as a spectator with my friend. And it was beautiful because you go to the stadium, you reach the stadium by 9 in the morning. You're there, you're just chilling the whole day. At 5 o'clock, you're back at McLeodganj. You're at some cafe. So, that's one thing. Then Bombay gives you a totally different atmosphere. Bangalore, again, is a very different venue. So I think if you have 4 or 5 fixed centers, it gives a shape to your domestic the home season more than domestic season.
Get what you're trying to say is that you can tailor the quote-unquote FTP around these, these 5 centers, 6 centers, and make it like a more viewer-friendly experience. I see. My only thing is, if you have to include something like a Dharamshala in, you'd have to drop one of the other centers. And I already have, say, for example, 5 centers without even Delhi in it. So you have Chinnaswamy, you have Chepauk, you have Mumbai. Then you have, you need to have what, Rajkot or Indore?
Well, why do you need to have? The thing is that anyway, the whole logic is that people are no longer interested in watching test matches, right? And let's face it, from whatever we have seen so far, crowds turn up in huge numbers for either 50 over or the T20 matches. I may sound very conservative or elitist. Okay, which I am maybe. But yeah, I think it's important to have test matches at these centers which are historic, which give you very different conditions. Like Bombay is different from Chennai, Chennai is different from Bangalore is different from Dharamshala. So if, for example, even if for Bangladesh, if they're coming to India, they know what kind of pitches to expect when they're coming here. Which is an advantage. Not advantage. Again, we have not made most of those advantages. But say, for example, when you're going to Australia, we know that, okay, it will be Perth, where it will be bouncy wickets. Adelaide, where it might be a little spin friendly, stuff like that. So it kind of helps you plan better as a visiting team and also as a home team. And even for fans. So for example, if I am a cricket enthusiast, I know that October I'll be in Bombay, November I'll be in Dharamshala. I can plan my entire year accordingly.
But that is you assuming that everybody can plan those things, and they can
But it's
afford air
better than-
tickets and hotel
No, but
prices.
it's better than not knowing till last week of September कि नवंबर में मैच कहाँ होने वाली है. So,
but it's still like even if in the first week of November कि match मेरा city में होने वाला है, I can still go in and buy the tickets and just go there instead of बहुत tension में आके. I generally have an aversion to making things very sort of exclusive. If you have a rotating stable, so to speak, if you have like 5 centers for say 2 years, 3 years, and then I don't know, but still,
I mean you can review them of course.
See, and also the other thing is ये सब करके चलो you have your 5 historic venues with their legacies and whatnot, but I think the bigger problem according to me here is कि ऐसे अगर कोई पुणे में टेस्ट मैच देखने जा रहा है तो बेचारे के पास स्टैंड ही नहीं है, शेड ही नहीं.
पुणे में तो होने ही नहीं चाहिए मैच.
हाँ, तो एग्जैक्टली वही कि धूप में खड़े रह के ये वो. तो आई थिंक बीसीसीआई शुड बी मेड अकाउंटेबल कि यू शुड हैव लाइक प्रॉपर स्ट्रक्चर्स इन प्लेस इंस्टेड ऑफ सेइंग कि अरे चलो रात को T20 करा लेंगे, टेस्ट मैचेस.
No, and in fact Sandeep G, who was in Pune covering the last test match,
is that you addressing our national editor with
a lot of
Sandeep
respect?
G or
I mean so much respect that Sandeep Gopal himself calls himself Sandeep G.
Yeah.
So Sandeep Gopal, who was covering the South Africa match in Pune, he was saying that it was ridiculous that people had to kind of park their cars a kilometer or 2 away from the stadium and then walk all the way. For that reason alone, Pune should never host a test match or any match.
I guess you can say that, but I think my point is that कि अगर उधर होते टेस्ट मैचेस एक बारी और 1-2 लोगों का दुखड़ा और थोड़ा वायरल होता है ये वो, then it might put थोड़ा बीसीसीआई पे थोड़ा सा प्रेशर पड़ेगा कि यार थोड़ा.
कहाँ यार, इतने सालों से पब्लिक लो रही है कि टॉयलेट ठीक नहीं है, पानी नहीं है.
Which reminds me, you said if I was BCCI and I almost wanted to borrow like 10 crores from you. कि तू अगर काश तू होता BCCI.
I could say a lot of politically incorrect things right now, but I won't.
Actually, yeah. But I think our second narrative was that pink ball test होगा यार Eden Gardens में. India will play its first pink ball day night test. उस पे क्या विचार है तेरा?
It's great it's finally happening. I mean, I don't know why India is always last one to adopt all these ideas, right? I mean, it was the same with T20 as well.
With DRS as well.
And I think it's a great concept, day-night test matches. There are so many, dimensions to it. There is dew factor, then there is wind factor. I mean, who was saying this? Was it Sanju Samson who was saying about I think Ajinkya Rahane. About the swing that it can produce. It's just fascinating, this whole concept. And it's in a way fitting that Ganguly is the one who's finally taken that decision to bring day-night test matches to India. It should have been done 2-3 years ago.
True, yeah. I think it adds a nice little wrinkle to Test cricket. I think the only problem is तेरा धर्मशाला मैक्लियोडगंज वाला प्लान फिर कैसा चलेगा यार?
नहीं, पर हर मैच तो आपको
वहाँ पे अगर नहीं in isolated vacuum में एक सिनेरियो बना जिसमें you're watching a day night test match.
I'd love it.
क्या करेगा फिर तू?
I'd love it, यार. Imagine Dharamshala floodlit. It's beautiful.
But yeah, true. I think उसके बारे में तो दक्ष भी अपनी 2 राय देना चाहेगा क्योंकि we'll have him back when regular service resumes. But for now, शूटिंग के बारे में जल्दी से बता यार. इतने सारे लोग क्वालिफाई करते हैं. आई एक्चुअली हैवंट बीन फॉलोइंग इतना ज़्यादा, बट मेरा दिल लास्ट ओलंपिक्स से टूट गया यार. रियो से जब मैं जीतू राय का टी-शर्ट पहनने लग गया था, मैंने अपना नाम पे जीतू ऐड कर दिया था, टैटू बनवा लिया था, बट देन ही सॉर्ट ऑफ फॉल्टर्ड.
Equivalent of चौकीदार्स.
जीतू गौरव भट्ट. It's got a nice ring to it. Shit. Yeah,
but I mean, no, it's incredible. I mean, again, it's too early to say that they have kind of fought back and come out from their whatever their pits after the Rio Olympics, because they haven't yet won anything at the Olympics next year. But the fact that there are 15 people who are qualifying, it's the first time there are so many shooters who have qualified for the Olympics. The best before this was 12. I think it was in 2012 Olympics, if I'm not wrong. No, it was in Rio. 2012
yeah,
Olympics.
It was in Rio, man. I knew that, of course.
Yeah. 11. In London, we had 11. And this is the first time we are sending 15 shooters. And it's crazy. So only China, Russia, and USA have more shooters who have qualified so far. The numbers might change with Europe qualifying events lined up. So India is 4th in that sense. But more than that, if we just forget the number of shooters, it's just the quality. 8 out of the 15 shooters who have qualified are ranked in top 10 of their respective categories. And there are some events, say for example, the women's 10-meter air rifle. The world number 1, 2, and 3 are Indians. So it's Apurvi Chandila, Anjum Mudgil, and Ella Vinil. It's crazy that we have such bench strength. In 10-meter air pistol men, the world number 2 and 3 are Indians. So I can't remember an Olympic Games where India enters a shooting event with so many shooters who are at this level. It is incredible. And they're shooting great scores. So it's not like, I have been kind of wary. I've been cautious about our expectations from them, because generally the trend is that we do well in Olympic year -1, as we saw with Jitu Rai in 2015. And when the rest of the world steps up their game at the Olympics, we freeze. No one can predict whether that will happen in Tokyo. But just the kind of scores, especially the women shooters and the younger ones, there are so many 17, 18-year-old shooters in our contingent right now that if not for Tokyo, it makes you optimistic for the future games.
That is true. I think the obvious question would be who is, the brightest prospect, but who has been the most surprising for you, who you didn't see coming?
To be honest, I didn't see Divyansh Panwar qualifying for the 10-meter rifleman. He had been doing very well, and I'm talking from the perspective of the start of the year. He was one guy who had been doing well at the domestic level, but this is his first major year in the seniors, and he's only 17 right now. So he was one guy I didn't expect. I was secretly wishing for someone like, say, Tejaswini Sawant to kind of qualify. When she finally did it, it came as a relief, because she's been trying for such a long time. It's almost 8-10 years that she's been around. Shotgun shooters, they had to wait till the last event for those berths, So Mehraj and Angad Bajwa have qualified there. We'll know perhaps closer to the Olympics if we might have a few more shooters who have qualified. What will happen now is the slots which are not used, they'll just reallocate them to the next. So for example, the next highest ranked shooter in a particular event, if that shooter hasn't qualified, he or she might get a quota again. So there's a remote possibility of India getting a couple of quotas more. But at least 15 are going, which is a huge deal. So I'll be very surprised if we don't convert, into, say, 3 or 5 medals, anything between that from shooting.
Seriously? And you're on record saying this?
On current form. Yeah.
You heard it here first, guys. Mihir Vasavda says we'll win 5.
3 to 5.
3 to 5. That is 325 shooting medals at Olympics in Tokyo.
Very sad.
I know, sorry. But, on that optimistic note, we'll like to wrap this up. It's been good having you on, Mihir. You haven't gone rogue as people were, sort of implying, but good to have you here. Any final words?
Daksh, I'm back.
Adios, guys.
You were listening to Express Sports by The Indian Express. This week's show was edited and mixed by Joshua Thomas and produced by me, Shashank Bhargav. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Audio and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.